All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at another Saurozoic Warrior from Boss Fight Studio. This is Ceratopsian Guard. And yeah, another really solid figure from this first wave of this new toy line. This one is a little bit different insofar that, like, the way that they're actually flavoring them, the other three all have, like, individual names, whereas this one is kind of marketed as more of, like, a generic army builder. But again, that's really only kind of in the way that it's, like, packaged and marketed. It's just as solid as the other three figures. It's, you know, kind of honestly one of the more solid of the four of them. But again, they're all really good, so it's kind of a tight race. I think that he ends up coming in a close second to a Range Brachion for me. But still, like, overall, just like as a figure with the number of accessories he gets, and then how he actually uses those accessories, and just how he feels as an action figure, I do sort of feel like he's the most kind of like solid overall package out of the four of them. But yeah, no, a really nice figure. This is another Triceratops guy that we've got going on here, though obviously this one does not have the horns or anything. Again, really nice sculpted detail on the head sculpt. I love the pink eyes there. I love how they've kind of like picked out the top of the head here with like a darker green shading. Really, I think the most visually striking thing about this figure in particular is I really love the, like, you know, armor plated, like, gold armor that he's got as part of his aesthetic. I just think it looks really nice. The shoulder pieces are attached just like, you know, they are in the other figures, with just kind of like this loose sort of like soft plastic piece holding it there. So it always kind of like default to, like, you know, go down with gravity. But if you actually lift the arms up, then they can kind of get out of the way, which is nice. In terms of articulation for this one, you know, pretty similar to the other ones. Obviously, the actual head itself is on a ball joint, and then the neck itself is on a ball joint as well. So pretty good range there. The mouth does open as well, though with him, just because of the, I don't know, the way it's sculpted, I find that his mouth kind of falls off every once in a while. It's not too bad, and again, it's such a small piece that it doesn't really have like that hard of a time staying in place. But, you know, compared to the other ones, his mouth does come off more often than not. His head fell back there. His shoulders are just like the other ones as well. They can rotate all the way around and then hinge out to the side. He's got a bicep swivel. Yeah, you know, a little under 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, wrist rotation, and then that hinge back and forth. That the waist is on a ball joint. Just with how his armor is, you really only get like rotation out of it and a bit of backward ab crunch, but he doesn't have like a ton of wiggle range. The hips are on ball joints and can go forward and back and out to the side. And again, you know, I feel like his work a little bit better than Triax, even though I'm pretty sure it is using a lot of the same parts as him, just because, like, for whatever reason, just like his sculpted kind of like, you know, under piece here just works a little bit better in terms of like being able to get his legs actually staying close together. Although for some reason on him, I don't know what it is, but it always feels like this leg is a little bit longer than this leg. Like, he always kind of like leans to the right, and I can't really figure out why that would be, because, like, you know, that's not like that necessarily on Triax. So I don't, maybe it is that this piece is just sculpted to be a little tiny bit longer than this one, because it does kind of look like that if you're like looking at the knees there. I don't know, not the end of the world. You know, if you're getting him in a good posture, it's hardly noticeable anyway, but yeah, just worth mentioning. He's got thigh rotation. Again, you know, the same legs as Triax, so like kind of a 45-degree angle bend there at the knee, and then the feet have that kind of like tilt and rotate thing going on. And yeah, so pretty solid. Again, just like a pretty standard action figure. In terms of the accessories that he comes with one less than Triax, but it still comes with quite a lot here. He comes with the two smoke grenades, which are the same sculpt as the one that came with Triax here. He shares a lot of stuff with Triax. So if you're wanting to only pick up like 3 of the figures in the line, I would say either skip him or either skip Triax, because they do share a lot in terms of, like, you know, if you look at it, like, I'm pretty sure their limbs are entirely the same, because this is this a, I can never figure out if this is like a, oh, I guess maybe that is a piece that's on top of the limb. I thought it was like sculpted in place when I looked at it last time, but I think it's just like a tighter plastic one so that you can't kind of like take it off. But yeah, no, I think that the sculpting on the limbs is entirely the same for these guys, probably for the body underneath the armor too. The only difference between them is the head, and then obviously all the armor pieces, and then some of the accessories. But otherwise, it's a lot of the same sculpt there. So if you're wanting to, you know, like, avoid picking up things that reuse parts, then get one of the two. Personally, I like him better than Triax Giver, just because the thing with Triax Giver's leg really bugs me, how it doesn't go in any further than that. But it's really to each his own, whichever you prefer there. But yeah, he comes with those. He comes with a knife, which again is the same knife that came with Triax Giver, but in the hot pink, which I really like. I really like all the hot pink accessories with him. Gun is the same as one of the two that comes with Triax Giver. So you can see what that looks like. The spear is his own. This doesn't come with anyone else. I really like the sculpting on the actual head of the spear here to give it kind of those grooves in it. I think that looks really nice. And then he also comes with this gas mask, which this was one of the main selling points for this figure for me. Is I was originally thinking I would only pick up the other three, but then I saw the gas mask accessory and I was like, oh, I should get this one. That's really cool. Now, unfortunately, this is his one accessory that just doesn't really work. You're supposed to clip this over his frill here and then kind of just form this to his face. And you can, but it is not a very good connection. I feel like the way that you actually get it to stay on there kind of makes his head look a little bit weird. It makes him look like he's looking perpetually up, just because this does not actually really form to his face all that well. It always kind of wants to move itself off, or if you actually hook that over, then it's just kind of loosely sitting there. Yeah, I think that this is my one big complaint about this figure in particular out of the four, is that the gas mask just really doesn't work, unfortunately. I wish that they had just sculpted the inside of this so it actually fit to the sculpt of his face a little bit better, because even if you're getting it on there how it's supposed to, you're having to kind of stretch it, and then this doesn't really sit. It's just, I don't know. It's a shame, because I thought the idea of having a Triceratops guy with a gas mask was a really, really cool look. But in practice, I just don't think it works very well, unfortunately. But the rest of his accessories, he's pretty solid with. Like I've said with these guys, I appreciate how much effort was put into actually having the weapons have a place to go when he's not actually actively holding them. He's got a sheath just like Triax Giver. This one is tight as well, but it's not as tight as it was on Triax Giver, so you can press it in there a little bit more solid, and it doesn't seem to be actually giving any stress marks to the sheath, so that works. He's got a holster for his gun on the back, which I'm pretty sure must be it looks like the same holster as Triax Giver as well. So you can just slot it in like that. That works pretty well. And then the spear itself, you again have another loop, again similar to Triax Giver, where you can just loop this onto his back. Though the thing that I think is an improvement on him over the other one is that the angle of this actually means that it sits nicely on his back and doesn't bump into the back of his head like the axe did on Triax Giver. So yeah, I don't know. I think that storage all works really well for me. Unfortunately, there's still nowhere to store the grenades here, and there's nowhere to store the gas mask. I wouldn't have really expected it with the gas mask, because it seems like you'd either be wearing that or leave it at home, right? You probably wouldn't, just have that on your side or anything like that. That doesn't really bug me. But yeah, it would have been nice if the grenade stored, but not the end of the world. I'm kind of fine with him having just the three weapons there. And yeah, no, he's really solid. Again, like I said, I love the gold armor pieces. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned his mouth opens. Yeah, did I say that? Yes, I think I did. But yeah, no, really solid. Again, just I feel like all things considered, he's the most versatile in terms of having the best functionality in terms of his posability and having the most weapons that you can kind of play around with. He kind of, he's not the one that has the most weapons, and he's not the one that has the best articulation, but he meets at the nice middle there, where I feel like he's kind of the most solid overall package, even if he does have one of his accessories that he really can't use very well. But yeah, no, I think he looks really cool holding any of his accessories. Like I mentioned in one of the previous videos, if you have him hold the grenade, it does kind of stretch out the hand over time. So then if you put one of the other accessories in there, it is a lot looser than it would have been otherwise. If we take the knife here, then it's just kind of loosely sitting in his hand, which is, I kind of wish that they made the grenades a little bit thinner so that would work, but then they wouldn't have looked as good. So whatever. And the grip on the spear itself is always a little bit loose, but since it's, doesn't have a big ridiculous axe head or anything, it's easier to kind of fudge that and just get it to stay wherever you want it. And again, if you have it sitting so it's kind of, resting on the ground, I feel like that's a pretty solid look, especially since this guy's supposed to be kind of a generic guard figure. I feel like that's a pretty good vibe. And then you can have him hold it in two hands as well, and I think that also looks pretty good. And yeah, just pretty solid overall. You know, it's like he does have a lot of similarities with Triaxgiver, but you know, I do think I like him a little bit better, and it might just be because of the leg thing on the other guy. But either way, just a really solid figure, like all four of them are, honestly. In terms of comparisons, for some standard ones, here he is with a Masters of the Universe Origins figure and a deluxe class Transformer. Here he is with the kind of, you know, newer retro vintage Bebop and Rocksteady, just for some kind of TMNT vibes, because I feel like they fit in pretty well with that genre. And then last but not least, here he is with the rest of Wave 1 again. And yeah, pretty solid still. I like all four of these figures. You know, when I'm trying to kind of like debate which is my least favorite, which is my favorite, it's a really tight race. I like all four of them, and I'm happy that I got all four of them. But yeah, definitely I feel like if you're gonna pass on any one of the four of them, if you want like that, you know, diversity, then probably you want to get these two and then one of these two. It's just really a matter of which one your preference is. I kind of lean towards him, but I would understand why a lot of people would lean towards Triaxgiver. But yeah, just another solid figure from this line, and we've got one more to look at, and then that will be it for now. But yeah, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Make sure to check me out on my Instagram account. That's toys.n.art. And without further ado, here we have Boss Fight Studios Saurozoic Warriors Ceratopsian Guard.